Talking to Ohio State's new transfers at the Woody Hayes Athletic Center on Tuesday. And Andrew, we got to talk to Quinshon Judkins for the first time, the second of the two star running backs now in the Ohio State backfield. So let's start there. What did Judkins say about how this is going to work with him and TreVeyon Henderson?
Yeah, so I asked him directly, like, when you committed to Ohio State, were you aware of TreVeyon Henderson's plans? Like, how did that kind of play into the mix? And one of the things that he said was, I didn't really focus on that. He was like, my recruitment just happened so quickly. He entered the portal, and then a couple of days later, just minutes after, I mean, the confetti was still falling when Michigan had won the national championship, and he committed to Ohio State. So he didn't really focus on that. He said that Ohio State views him as an all-around running back. They want to view him in a receiving role, a pass blocking role. They want to run him in between the tackles. They want to run him outside. So this kind of strikes me as a 1-2 punch where they can feel pretty confident about both of those guys. You know, I think one of the things that he didn't really want to get into was, well, you know, here's how they're going to use me and here's how they're going to use TreVeyon. You know, he's like, we're both competitive guys. You know, I'm sure he wants his touches. I want my touches. But I think it's pretty clear to see that Ohio State views this situation as we've got two really good running backs, and we should use both of them because it's a disservice not to use both of them. So I think when you look at this running back room, it's going to be, you know, you're not going to have a guy where, hey, you lean on him between the tackles and you lean on TreVeyon to hit the home run. I think they're going to try to rely on both these guys to do pretty much everything in their backfield.
So why is he here? Why did he pick this place as opposed to a place where he could go and where he was at Ole Miss? He was a star. He was one of the star running backs in the country. He's running for 1,000 yards a year, freshman All-American, All-SEC kind of guy. Why come here? What was the appeal to come here and be a part of half of that?
Well, that was the first question that he got, and his answer was, why not Ohio State? And then he kind of stopped for a second, and I was just like, keep going. Like, let's hear some more. You know, he mentioned the culture. He mentioned the coaches. Playing for a national championship, he mentioned a couple of times. That was kind of big for him. And I think you hear this level up kind of thing a lot. And, you know, he talked about the transfer portal, and he said, you know, there's a lot of misconceptions that people have about the portal. And, you know, he's like, everybody thinks that, you know, you kind of go in there and everybody's situation is different, but everybody thinks it's an NIL thing for everybody. And that's not the case. And he seemed to really kind of try to put his foot down that, you know, this was not solely, or this was not even an NIL decision for him, but he wanted to come here to play for a national championship, wants to play in a backfield that is going to be really talented, playing an offense that's going to be really talented. And we asked him a lot about this towards the end of his interview where, look, the running back position is being devalued, and the running back position in terms of the NFL, in terms of touches when you get there, running backs wear down quickly, and he seemed to be aware of that. You know, he talked about Jahmyr Gibbs as one of his favorite players, and, you know, we were talking to him like, hey, the Lions do this too. They have David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs. They have a first-round running back, and they have two guys that they're using in the backfield. And he was like, exactly. So I think he kind of starts to realize that. And I asked him, like, how quickly do you realize that? And he's like, you don't really focus on it. You don't really think about it, but you do have to be aware of it. And I think that is one of the things that was really kind of important to him. I think he had like 500 plus touches in his first 2 years at Ole Miss. That number's going to go down, and that number is going to go down pretty significantly in terms of per year. So I think that just there was a lot of factors here, winning a national championship, but I think also most importantly, they're not going to rely on him to touch the ball, you know, 270 times like Ole Miss did a year ago.
Did today give you some clarity, you think, as to how this is all going to work for him? Because there's obviously a long way to go. We're not even in spring yet, let alone the start of the season.
No, I have no idea. You know, because you've got TreVeyon, you've got Dallin Hayden, you've got Judkins, obviously. And then the kind of dark horse factor in this is that Will Howard also runs the ball. So, like, how much is Ohio State going to rely on that? Because if Will Howard runs the ball 6, 7, 8 times a game, which maybe it's a lot, maybe it's not, I don't know. But if you're going to design some runs for Will Howard, what does that do for TreVeyon Henderson? What does that do for Judkins? How do you mix that up? I have no idea. And you know, I think that Ohio State, that's going to be the fun thing for them because they get to figure out how to do it.
It is going to be interesting to watch this play out because we haven't seen, it's been several years since Ohio State's tried to do something like this in the backfield. There have been mixed results in the past, and we'll see if this one works out. A lot more to talk about between now and the start of the spring, but we're going to do in Buckeye Talk 5 days a week. Get that wherever you can find podcasts and get the texts, 614-350-3315. News, updates, analysis every day from Cleveland.com.